Hello and welcome to the Sideboard. I'm Reuben Bresler and I'm joined by notable Dredgesman Dave Thomas, and he has brought Dredge to the table, of course, today. This is, of course, better known as the Golgari deck from Is It vs. Golgari.
Yes, indeed.
Because it's got 3 or 4 of the cards from that, and also 3 or 4 of the cards from the Premium Series Graveborn, which you're actually running a couple of. So tell us a little bit, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Dredge, run down what you're trying to do.
This deck's taking advantage of a mechanic that was created during the original Ravnica set, Dredge. What Dredge is, instead of drawing a card, you can mill the top cards of your library equal to the number printed next to the Dredge mechanic. So what I try and do is take advantage of that by putting one of these Dredgers, like Golgari Grave Troll, in my graveyard, and then dumping as many cards as possible, as fast as possible, into my graveyard.
And you've got a lot of spells that take advantage of graveyard interactions. You're basically trying to flip your library face up. So you've got Icarid, which is one of the original from John Rizzo's Frigarid deck. You've got Narcomoeba from Future Sight, as well as Bridge from Below, both of which have effects when they go into your graveyard or while they're in your graveyard.
Your graveyard is basically your hand.
Is your resource, And so now, Dredge decks are very similar, but they've gained a lot recently in Faithless Looting. What did Faithless Looting do to make Dredge so much better, other than just being more careful?
It gave it well, the more careful studies thing is actually important because it gave the deck a lot more consistency. When you just had a bunch of 1 mana, like when you're previously when you were playing the non-LED version with like the Tireless Tribes and the Petrid Imps, you would end up with a lot of hands that would have a bunch of enablers. But all you could do that game was slow dredge. You'd have like double Tireless Tribe Petrid Imp. So you did have a way of putting your resources in the graveyard, but you didn't have a way to actually turbo it out. What Faithless Looting allows you to do is put your dredges in your graveyard and turbo it out at the same time.
What else it does is now you're running the Lion's Eye Diamond version.
I actually played Lion's Eye Diamond before Faithless Looting came out. I was a big fan of the Deep Analysis one. In fact, I played Darkslick Shores Underground Sea Mana Base because I actually don't like Gemstone Mine. But Lion's Eye Diamond allowed for turn 1, turn 2 kills, and it still does with Faithless Looting. So
now, the decks are very similar.
Yeah.
All Dredge decks typically run 4 Narcomoebas, 11 Dredgers, maybe 10. But the Singleton targets main deck are different. You've got the Flamekin Zealot, which a lot of people still run, although it's sort of fallen out of favor. They want to play a more grindy mid-range control game. But you also have a main deck Iona. Why did you choose to main deck Iona today?
At the Invitational, when I played this deck, I had a main deck Angel of Despair, and that's because I felt like there were going to be a lot more people playing. I knew a lot of people they were going to play Blue-White Miracles that had stuff like Moat in their main deck. So I wanted, or that had Moat and might play it main deck. I also didn't want to lose to like a random Ensnaring Bridge or something in the main, Ghostly Prison. I like the utility of it, and sometimes it's just as good as an Iona, Dread Returning, killing a land on turn 2, just time walking them and having the 5/5 flyer. But I switched to Iona because a lot of people have been playing more fair decks recently, and it's a better tool to fight against the combo decks, and it's just as good against the fair decks because if you turn 2 it, you can just lock them out.
If you turn 2, name red against goblins, name white against Maverick usually, so as to avoid Swords and Plowshares, things like that. If that's what we're calling fair in this format, is Goblin Lackey on turn 1. Speaking of Angel of Despair, it's not cut entirely. It is in your sideboard, and it's joined by an Elishnorn. What are those 2 cards typically coming in against?
Angel of Despair is exactly for the same things I wanted in the main deck before. It's a utility card. People who have things like Ensnaring Bridge and Moat, Ghostly Prison, there are lots of those cards. Also, I can there are people who play Pernicious Deeds and Engineer Explosives, and I can actually just get those so they can't just sit on it forever. And like say I'll Dread Return it after my bridges are gone. I can get the Engineer Explosives, dredge bridges, and keep making tokens. It also kills planeswalkers.
Sure.
Like there are random cases where the board's set up and I need to kill a planeswalker. She's really good against the show and tell decks too, just randomly.
Yep.
She could be in my opening
So
hand.
good that Max Teets was running 3 in his Goblin sideboard.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Which is awesome. Now, speaking of Planeswalkers, Pernicious Deed, and Ensnaring Bridge, Engineered Explosives, you've also got 3 Pithing Needles.
Yeah.
Not a new card, new art from Return to Ravnica. I haven't seen Pithing Needle in a lot of sideboards.
I strongly disagree with people not including this card. It's really good against Engineer Explosives and Pernicious Deed, but specifically it's really good against Tormod's Crypt and Relic of Virginitas. you really need to be able to preemptive a lot of those, especially when you know someone is playing just Tormod Script. Like a lot of the Rug Delver decks just stopped playing Surgical Extraction and started playing Tormod Script, but they're not splitting their hate because they can't play Relic, because it's detrimental to them to remove their own graveyard. So you can just blind name Tormod Script. Also, Scavenging Ooze is a problem, and there's no realistic way to answer that without stopping the ability. So Pithing Needle's a really good card.
Excellent. And there is an interesting sideboard card you've chosen. You said you should probably be running too. Tell me about Memory's Journey.
At the Invitational, I played two. What's it called? Pay 2 life. Put the Reclaim.
Oh, okay. Noxious Revival.
Noxious Revival. For the same concept. They both have Memory's Journey and Noxious Revival have both been considered before by many for Dredge sideboards because it's an anti-surgical extraction type card. Memory Journey is good because it's in your graveyard. It doesn't have to be in your opening hand. You just dredge into it. But Noxious Revival puts it on top of your library, so you can actually take advantage of that next turn. Noxious Revival also allows you to put non-targeted things on top of your library. Like I put a Breakthrough on top of my library, then proceeded to go off before. But Memory's Journey is better if I expect more surgical extraction. I can also use Memory's Journey better as some sort of graveyard hit of my own, like against a reanimator opponent, and target their stuff. So I do think I should have a second one for more, just so I could consistently see it more. But I would probably cut the Chain of Vapor.
Sure. Just because it's another Nature's Claim. You're also, this is not the extent of what's going to be in play for you.
No.
You actually make tokens.
Oh yes, indeed.
What kind of tokens are you using today?
They're these sweet, I don't know, I think it's Reuben Bresler's on these. It's from the In Contention podcast.
Check that out. We got tokens. How cool is that?
So I'm going to be killing some people with some Reuben Breslers today.
Excellent. That's what I do every day. Well, David, thank you for joining me in the sideboard.